Susana Perczek is a corporate stylist with over a decade of experience helping C-suite executives and women leaders harness their professional style as a strategic asset to amplify their presence, influence, and impact. That's what I wanted to share with you all so that you could know where she's coming from as a personal stylist, that it affects everything. And so everything and how you show up as a leader. And it also sounds like, which I'm really excited to get into today, that it helps you show up more powerfully as a leader. So tell us a little bit more about your style, Susanna, and how those two things go together.
First of all, it's great to be here, great to be with all your listeners, and thank you, Andrea, if you're listening, for making this connection. Um, well, I think what I'm hearing you that you're asking is like, how does style and leadership
Yeah,
connect? Is that
right.
right?
Exactly.
Okay. So the way that I see that they connect and they're not an afterthought, that is, our style is our nonverbal communication.
Uh-huh.
It's a language that we all use. So, in the first moment that anybody see you, either through a screen or in person, is already creating a picture in their brains about who you are. They're bringing in values, they're bringing in stories, they're bringing in assumptions. So, your style is a way where you can share with somebody else who you are without speaking. It's almost the same energy when you walk into the Apple store or if you walk into your favorite restaurant or coffee shop. You step in and there's something that tells you, I love this place. I want to be here. I want to spend time. Or, like I could say, you're in an elevator and you're with somebody and you get a vibe like, maybe I should protect myself. I should be careful. So that was all nonverbal. There was nothing said, but there was something between your brain, your eyes, and you as a recipient that by what you're seeing, you get you receive an information. So in that way, what I do is like, well, so if that has is it's an aspect that has so much power, why not be really aware and conscious on what is it that you want to create? Because your style go really hand in hand with your leadership.
One of the things that a lot of clients come to me is they want to work on their executive presence, their executive communication. And sometimes the place that I start is I will actually just tell them what to say. And what I mean by that is like one sentence, right? Like, so we'll work on in your next one on one with your boss, start the conversation with this sentence instead of how, because we repeat the same patterns, right? We say the same thing every single time we meet with somebody. And so you're talking about networking as well. And it's like next time you see somebody, try this sentence and see how it feels, see how it shifts the conversation. And almost what I'm hearing from you, Susanna, is that if you dress a certain way, like connected in with yourself, like it sounds like it's not outside in, you have to wear this thing, but with something that makes you feel a certain way, non-verbally, even before you walk into the room, then it will affect the conversation that comes after that.
Yes. Yes, and I think I like to take it a step back, and it's
Okay.
always being very aware of what is it that you wanna create. So, and I think that's like sort of my motto, and it's been what my life is about. I am a creative. Creativity is what runs through my veins. So that energy of like, what is it that you want to create? That's how you choose that outfit. So that it's
Mm.
very specific. It's very on purpose, and it's about what are you trying to do.
Uh-huh.
So in that way, it's not random, and that's why it becomes a strategy.
Yeah. So tell me, so a woman is interviewing for a vice president level role. What is
Yeah.
she trying to do?
Okay. So here, yes, I get this question a lot,
I was
and
like,
this is
dress more like a man, dress more like myself, dress more like it's like that's where my brain goes is like, how do I dress, right? But I know you're getting at this at a much deeper, granular level. So
yes, yeah, yes. And with that said, I would say I would invite you to read my latest article about what in the world means to dress business casual, because that is so. That's sort of what the imitation. Dress business casual and what in the world it means. And it's a whole unpacking that. And I invite your readers to go to my Substack Stylist strategy and they can really begin to understand how to unpack this. Because almost
Uh-huh.
like the question that you ask me is like, I have a house, decorate a house.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's so many elements in how I can decorate a house and things that I want to pay attention to. So in this case, for this woman executive that is interviewing for this VP role, these are some of the things that I would say, let's start putting almost like we're going to create a puzzle and the puzzle has pieces. In the beginning, each piece you don't see the full picture, but once you put it all together, it's like, oh, that's the direction. So, so there's within that. To answer briefly this question, how do you create that outfit? Is like you need to separate the yin and the yang, which means like you, and then where you're interviewing. So when I'm thinking of when I'm interviewing, I would ask your client saying, okay, what kind of company is it? What kind of, first of all, actually, what kind of industry is she interviewing for this VP? Is it a consultancy or is it a marketing? Or is it what kind of field? Because each of these areas, it has already a certain lane, a certain energy, a certain creativity, a certain visual, right? Energy, like under an understanding. So you want to know, the field that you're in, the company that you are in, you want to know if you're interviewing virtually or in person because that makes a difference. You want to know who is interviewing you. So if you can do some research to find out who this person is, and by seeing a picture, it gives you a feeling, it gives you an understanding of what visually how the person dresses, but also there's an understanding of where you're stepping in. So once you have that clarity, when you know like where you're entering, then you can think of yourself, okay, if I'm let's make it an example that it's for a BP for what role? You tell me.
Oh,
What
in
would it be?
biotech, like a
Okay.
VP of business development.
Okay, VP of business development in biotech. Okay, and let's imagine that also um, this company is in Northern California. Can we say
Oh, there
that?
you go. Yeah, I would say
Okay,
Southern California. Southern
Southern. Okay,
California, I'm, like,
okay,
thinking for real. I'm like a
okay.
real
So let's
client.
think of real Southern California. Perfect. I lived in Southern California, so I know. I lived in many places. So yeah, Southern Cal. Yeah. So location. Okay. I'm also thinking of weather. If she's
Mhm.
let's say this time of the year. Okay. So with that, it's like okay, she's obviously going for a high role. So I would say her presence is very important because she's going to be she's in a leadership position. What does it mean to be in a leadership position in terms of clothing? One of the things that I always suggest to my clients, always wear a third piece, meaning a jacket or a vest. That it already elevates you, it gives you protection, it gives you stature, and visually also creates lines that when your eye sees that, really there's no um dist- distraction, and all the attention is really in your face and really in your eyes. Because I always say, what you're wearing, it's an asset to you. But you don't want that to be a distraction. You want this to be sort of like the cover of a book that you're like, okay, like I'm seeing your book
Uh-huh.
behind that, over there. And it's like, okay, I like this book. Let me read it.
Mhm.
I want to see what's in it. So that's sort of
Uh-huh.
that interview, right? Like,
Oh,
okay.
nice. Even before you open your mouth, even before you say anything, there's this impression like you said,
y-
right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So then I would say, okay, what colors are you wearing?
Mhm.
Within that you're stepping in. This is biotech. So I'm thinking this is it's science, but at the same time, it's about innovation. There is creativity. It is about possibilities. So perhaps I wouldn't suggest that you wear a black jacket and a white shirt. That is too conservative.
Yeah. I was gonna say it would be more the clinical side of science, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes. So
Automatically projecting, like, just like where our brains go, and I think there's this idea as you're talking too about the setting ourselves up for success so that then when the words do come out of our mouths, we're already winning.
Exactly. So if you, let's say, find the company logo has certain
Mhm.
colors, well, can
Ah,
give you an idea. So like, let's say they use green. Well, why don't you put green, but wear the green that works for your color palette? That's when the you start really creating. It's not any green. It's a green that works for you, but within the green, you're connecting to the company, but also you're connecting to the bigger meaning of green, which represents growth, which represents, money, who represents opportunities. So all in that, you're saying all of that. Here I am to grow the company, to
yeah.
grow the
Oh my god,
possibilities,
that's
to grow,
amazing.
to grow
Yes.
myself. And it happens to be the logo of the company, which probably who is interviewing you is very committed to their role. So
Mhm.
see how you start, and so then you start creating alignment that happens without you even that it's nonverbal, but it's
Right.
there.
I was thinking about this, interview that I heard with Ariana Huffington, and she was talking about how she has a couple of pieces that she wears, but she doesn't and you hear this a little bit with, like, Steve Jobs or whatever. It's like they find these clothes so that they don't have to think about clothes anymore. So, one of the things I was, as I was hearing you talk is, like, interview pressure is real. It's stressful. You're trying to think, how am I going to answer all these questions? How am I being presented? If we're doing it on Zoom, is the technology working? Like, where am I supposed to? There's just so much to think about. And so this quote is she said something about, "I figured out the couple of dresses that worked for me, and I just wear the same dresses all the time." And she said, "If you see me at different events, I'm wearing the same clothes." I wonder if there's some of that balance, right, where you can understand what works for you, and you can get basically a couple of pieces that work very well repeatedly in all different situations. And then how would you recommend so one, is that a recommendation? And then two, then how do you bring yourself back into the present? So then that doesn't become just sort of like this boring thing that you do before you go to an interview. I just love to hear more about how you think about the repetition of the styling, I guess is what I mean. How do we sustain this? How do we keep going?
Yeah, I think it's another very good question that also doesn't. I'm sorry for the listeners. Sometimes it's not just a one, a simple that, there's a simple answer that is an A to B, but there is a whole a process where you can get to it. I think the idea of Ariana Huffington having certain dresses that work for her, I think it's fabulous. The same thing I would say for anybody. I think that the key is like really understanding what works for you. So it's just not random. So then when it works, it really works. And then if you have these pieces and on top of that, they represent so much more than just a piece of fabric, even better. Like when you're really conscious and understanding the color. This is also when I speak about the four pillars of style, that you understand your body design. So, in terms of the lines of, let's say, that dress of that jacket, they really work and support you and align you. Absolutely. When the color, let's say, is matching because it works with your skin and your hair and your eyes and is giving the right information. Absolutely. When the fabric, again, you don't feel like you're sweating, you don't feel like you're itchy, you don't feel like you need to start like moving things. It's just like it really lands and it makes you, and it's so comfortable, which is so important in an interview. You already have so many emotions inside. Outside, you want to, everything, like you said, everything needs to be cool and dandy, so right, so that you could do your thing. And then I would say on top of that, if you can add to that outfit an accessory that has meaning to you, that represents something, it's like your additional superpower. In this case for me is this necklace that I had made with this my great grandmother left a brooch with diamonds. So I inherited that, and I was never wearing a brooch with real diamonds. Like, where would I go? So I went to a jeweler and I said, I want to have something that really represents my lineage. I mean, where I come from, that strength and resilience to keep creating and going for what I want in my life, knowing that I'm gonna get so many no's, knowing that, so when I put this necklace on, it's like the Wonder Woman or the Bionic Woman. It's like a superpower, or like Madeleine Albright when she was wearing her pins. If some of the listeners recall, where she would say, they would ask, "How are you doing, Mr. Secretary of State?" And she would say, "Well, read my pins." So I would, I would invite the listeners that when you're going for that interview, maybe wear and it could be anything, and it could be of any value. It could be a pair of glasses that you love, that you found at a certain store. It could be a ring, it could be an earring, it could be anything that has meaning for you, because everything has energy and it's about nonverbal communication. So I would invite them to wear, and that's what I do with my clients when I work with them. I said, I would really want to know where they come from, who they are, where they're going, and if there's anything special that they can bring, because that's their special sauce. There's nobody else like them. And sometimes then that interview, that thing will spark a conversation that is completely outside from the saying the right thing to not saying the right thing, that the interviewer is like, "Oh my God, I'm really speaking to a person here." Because it's all about, do I trust them? Do I connect with them? How do they really, how do we flow? Because we're going to be working together. So sometimes these things, without you thinking, are giving you that give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking this idea that, when we went back to like I'm interviewing for a vice president level role. And I think the first thought that comes to mind is impress, right? And I think with style, it's really complicated because if your goal is to impress, you might actually isolate, right? So you were talking about to think about the company, the branding. So wearing the logo colors is the intention is different. And so you just use the word connect versus impress. And so if the intention is to connect, wearing a green that fits you, but also incorporates the branding colors is connection, not impressing. Cause I Googled the branding colors, right? That's very, very different, right? And so the ways that we can bring that connection in with our style, it just feels so powerful. And really ultimately, I think, the way that people think about style is either, impress or not impress, and you're looking at it from a totally different lens. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly, Stacy. I'm looking at from the lens of strategy. You know, use it as part of your strategy in your leadership. And the way that you are preparing for the questions, the way that you're preparing also your space. If you're doing a Zoom, it's also very, very key. I think it's like the stage in a theater. Again, when you're going to see a performance, sometimes, you're waiting and you're seeing a stage and it's already telling a story. So, like, you have a stage, I have a stage, right? And it's telling our stories. So being mindful of that, it's important. So absolutely, it's all strategy, with the lenses of what you are creating, so that you're not leaving anything behind. And also, people can also, I did recently, I spoke at a national conference, and I was telling, the women leaders there, that if you look at high performers, what they're wearing, it's key to how they perform. If you look at Serena, when Serena Williams was number one, if you look at her outfits, and they were all strategic for like where she was playing, who she was playing against, who was in the audience, and also the communication she wanted to give to herself.
That's so good. And she didn't do that herself, right? And so when you think about you, Susanna, and the role that you play for these women, it's important to remember that this whole interview is not meant to tell you you should have all this figured out. Like, how are we supposed to know what our lines are, what colors work for us, unless we have that support? And I think part of the way that women that I work with start to become that corporate badass is by realizing that there are other people around us that can support that corporate badassery. in ourselves, right? And so yeah, when you were talking about Serena, I was like, there was no part of me that was like, "Oh, while she's figuring out how to play the game, she's also figuring out what to wear." No, she
No,
has to work.
absolutely. I think we all need a team. We
Yes.
all need a team. And just like myself, I'm being an entrepreneur. I have my accountant that I adore, that I was like it's like, hey, get me my P&L, get me my taxes ready. I don't have time and I don't want to, and even if I can do it, I don't want to do it because my energy and my time is more precious in something else. So I outsource. So this is what I do with my clients. My clients know that they have a very full schedule. A lot of responsibilities. And it might be not their saying, it might be their saying, but they're saying, Susana, you're the expert here. You know me. And let's work together so that when I have a call at 5 in the morning or when I'm getting on a plane and I need to pack, everything is ready, everything is in alignment, and I'm telling the right story in the right places so that I can do my thing. Because it's impossible. It's impossible. It's like we as moms, we need to have help. We can't do it all. I don't believe in that we can do it all.
So, I was also wondering, you mentioned a little bit about Zoom and your background, but in terms of your style, any differences in how you show up on Zoom versus in person? Like, let's just say specifically for an interview.
When you're having that Zoom interview, imagine yourself that you are in front of that person. So you're gonna dress head to toe. I I invite you to wear the shoes that you're gonna be wearing like if you will be in person, you wear pants, you wear everything, head to toe outfit. It's super, super important. And it's also there's many studies that have been done that what we wear is like that, and it's called enclosed cognitive theories. So depending on what you're wearing, it's like you embody who you are.
Mhm.
So so it's very, very important. It makes a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are worried about overdressing? And there's one of the things that I found really fascinating back when I started in women's leadership is the women who were up on the stage when we would do like panels and bring in top C-suite executive women were really like fantastically dressed. Like just like holy crap. Like I love that woman. I love her style. I'm drawn to her. She's magnetic, everything. And then I'll give you a story of an early client who dressed like that every single day when she went to work, and just with the same double bind dilemma that women face in their aggression versus niceness versus outspoken versus, like, being empathetic, right? All this balance, clothes and style play a big role in that. And so she actually had to continue dressing the way that she wanted to dress at work, even though she was told on several occasions that was incredibly off putting, like not to make the men typically on the team feel uncomfortable, right? Meaning that she was overdressed, right? For coming into the office. And then she just had to really embrace that. That became a large part of her leadership, and just to really say, you know what, this is who I am and this is how I want to express myself. But especially in those like middle management titles and things like that, there's this idea that we have to dress down so that we can
Yeah.
meet other people where we're at, but then we're losing part of ourselves, part of our power, part of, what we would really prefer to do. My question is, like, more like, how do we meet other people where they're at while still being our authentically powerful, badass self at work, right? So, this idea, and I think you talked about this a little bit in industries and sort of expectations and what's around us, but from a strategic perspective, is there anything that you recommend doing so that we can both be ourselves and also meet the rest of our team, knowing our role, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent question, and then it's like there's where like really being present and being mindful and being aware,
Mhm.
comes in because imagine if we're gonna have a picnic and you're doing like a 5 meal course with silver and candles and servers. And you're like, what the heck? I mean, we're going on a picnic here at the Redwoods, in Marin County. You know, that is not appropriate, but there's nothing wrong with a picnic and there's nothing wrong with this 5 course meal. It's just that there's no alignment. So but they're both have a place. So I think it's with style, what is so fabulous is like I also tell my clients, you have full control. You're not is especially in the business world, there's so many things in the life that we're in the world that we're living in right now, that's so many unknowns and things change like between the morning and the evening, things shift, right? And you're being called, okay, now you need to go to a board meeting, now you need to go present, now you need to get on a plane, and boom, it's like so many things. But with clothes, you are, at least in the Western world, we are in charge. So if you understand where you're going to be with and where you're going to be at, then you can sort of um, have a pendulum of things that you're wearing that are representative of you, but also that belong in the place that you're going to be in. So perhaps, let's say we go with the idea that it's really about a picnic. It's an event that is going to be a picnic and a networking outside in the wetwoods. You still want to be you. For example, you can wear some cool sneakers, and you can wear like maybe a pair of denim that it really is not the basic denim. It has something of an edge, but you're not coming with a cape and oh, you know what I mean? Like something that is so extravagant that people are gonna be like, "She's off. There's something weird." I mean, like
Yeah,
there's a
and then the
place
other
and
thing will be
time.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna dumb it down and wear my, hiking pants that I wear all the time and that are kinda dirty," right? And so then you don't feel empowered, you're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna show up because we're in the redwoods and this is what I'm supposed to do," but yet you're still their leader or, it's
Right, exactly. You're not
yeah,
gonna
I
wear
love
like
that.
your crappy, rain boots that are,
Yeah.
that you because it's been raining for the last 2 weeks and are full of mud, and it's like, well, because it's
Well,
gonna be
because we're in the
muddy.
redwoods, we should
Woods
just
and
all
it's
be
muddy, and
Yeah.
it's muddy. No, no, but if you're a VP and you're a leader, then you're mindful, like, okay, and if you need to wear rain boots, well, then choose some rain boots that are also in alignment with your positioning. So because everything is giving communication at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that. A question that I like to ask a lot on my interviews is, why do you personally feel motivated to have a voice at the table? You touched on this a little bit with your great grandmother, but I'm curious. I want to ask that question again and see if anything in addition to that comes up for you.
uh, for me, I think it's so important to show up. The idea of showing up and being creative. It's my force, and I want to tell people, don't um go for what you want. Create what you want. The difficulties are going to be there. I mean, nothing more than, your life being on the line and having to leave everyone you loved and everything behind, because otherwise you're not going to be around the next day. So with that energy, that I know it sounds a little dramatic, but it happened to be that it is in my DNA, and it's in the DNA of many people of many different cultures. And it's the reality of the world that we're living in right now. Um, my intention with the work that I do and with women is like, be creative, show up, and when you're dressing, that's a way that you can say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going for. And you don't need to be small, and you can show beauty, and you can show femininity, and you can show who you are, and you don't need to like digress, so that like what we were speaking earlier, to be like everybody else because you're not gonna upset somebody else. That is their issue. I mean, I was in that train and I did years of therapy to let go and complete those chapters. And people are going to think whatever they want to think. You have no control, but you do have control of you. And my invitation for women is like, be more bold, be bold, or be you. If bold it's part of who you need to be, do that. Not everybody needs that. Uh, but certainly, like, don't be afraid to show yourself as a woman.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How do people find you? How do we work with you? Tell me more. What's your digits?
Thank you, Stacy. Well, first, they can go to my website, which is susanaperczekstyling.com. In the website, they're going to find all the information, all the frequently asked questions that I think they will feel and see like, oh yeah, I want to work with Susana or not, which is fine. Also, I do a lot of postings on LinkedIn, so I would love to connect with your community and engage in this conversation because I think we all have something to say and we all add something to the reality. And I also, as I say, I write a monthly article on Substack, and it's the intersection of style, branding, and leadership, and it's called Stylist Strategy.
I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing and helping, really empower women from the outside in, inside out, outside in, and so, like, I just, like, see it as this, like, circle and it just, like, really, really special and for connecting with me today and the willingness to just jump right in and to share your wisdom with my audience. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you.